Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. This is Lori Smith. This is One Child Abuse Survivor to Another Restoration. Glad to be here. It is Monday morning, 6:30 here, Calgary, Alberta, and September the 12th. Glad to be here. Hope you had a good weekend. I had a good weekend. It was pretty good. I had one day off. Not a whole lot of time to cram everything in, but I did manage to take a break, get some rest, which was important, and had to sort of prioritize there. And I did get I had a nice kind of relaxing day yesterday, so that's good, and feeling a little bit better. And so, yeah, glad to be here, and we'll get right into this. This is just really a morning reflection, looking at my own progress in my healing journey. I'm hoping that this information helps you out, and as well as, it's helping me. So hopefully you're getting something out of this too. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into my shows. I really appreciate it. And, it's hard to keep up with all the different things that I'm doing. And, so I do appreciate you taking the time to listen to what I have to say, and hopefully the information is helpful. Like I said, do a safety checklist. If you're a survivor of abuse, and you want to make sure you're safe enough to be listening to something like this, so do like a safety checklist just to make sure that this information is not going to trigger you this morning, and that it's not going to cause you to kind of go backward in your healing journey, or cause you to injure yourself or somebody else, or just have a miserable day, right? Make sure you're safe enough to listen. If you're not sure how to go about doing that, ASCA Survivor to Thriver Manual is a good place to start. There's a safety first chapter in that manual. It's free. You can grab it from ASCA.org, ASCA Adult Survivors of Child Abuse, a Morris Center program. It's a Survivor to Thriver manual. It's like a workbook. You can grab it. It's free. It's online, and you can you can just read it online, or you can download the PDF. And the first chapter is safety first, and I think it's like 60 pages long, something like that. Anyway, it's really helpful, and so make sure you get that information. Make sure you are safe enough, because if you're not, make sure you turn the show off. You don't want to trigger and then, have problems throughout the day. Just if you're not safe enough and you're not sure, you wouldn't be hurting my feelings at all. Keep yourself safe. Know what to do for yourself. And that's more important than listening to this show. So turn it off if you're not sure. Adult survivors, this is Havoka. We're going to look at, how am I doing on my healing journey? Like this morning, Monday morning, any particular things I need to work on? How am I feeling? I'm actually feeling pretty good. I'm just waking up here, having coffee, trying to wake up, and just feeling pretty good these days. I didn't get a whole lot done on the weekend because I was busy just working on Saturday, and then Sunday I decided to take a bit of a break. So didn't get anything really done, but I did row on my rower, which was really good because it sits right in front of me all the time. It's right in front of me, right in front of my computer, right in front of my desk, my rower. I'm always looking at it going, I need to get on that thing. And I never make time for it, so I actually did this weekend yesterday, which was great because I want to start rowing. Rowing is really good exercise for me, for my body. And so I need to get on that thing and actually start working out and cut down on the cigarettes, cut down on the coffee, and get more exercise, start doing something, right? Winter's coming. I'm going to be shut in most of the winter. It's really cold up here where I live in the winter. Most winters are really brutally cold, and, with minus 35, minus 30 Celsius. So it can get really nasty for especially the deep part of the winter, which would be like December, January, February, March, April, so they don't get a whole lot of exercise during those months outside, so you have to come up with something inside. So I need to start that now before winter starts. And so I did start that, so that was good. How am I feeling this morning? Pretty good. Not bad at all. Had kind of a quiet day yesterday, did a lot of reflecting. And because I was relaxing and just taking it easy, not doing much. And working on studies. I'm always working on studies, biblical studies mainly. But just doing some personal reflection as well, and things are going pretty good. I'm not feeling all that. I'm feeling quite comfortable now, emotionally and spiritually, and just working on the physical aspects. But it's good to take a look to see where we're at, right? And I want to look at Havoka. This is Havoka's Adult Survivors of Sexual Abuse. It's like a little acronym that this lady Cheryl had put together, and it's from Havoka.org, HAVOCA.org. That's Help for Adult Victims of Child Abuse.org. And then she's, for adult survivors of sexual abuse, each letter, she's done like an acronym and written up some material here for each letter. So Fridays was the letter T for in adult. Letter T, take time to invest in yourself. You're worth it. Do something that makes you feel wonderful, truly glad to be alive. Go for walks, reflect during your quiet times, reflect on what's good in your life, your family, your friends, those who love you. So that's awesome. This morning's is S for adult survivors. So this is the S for survivor. See how important and truly unique you are. You are one of a kind. No one can replace you. And our higher power, she says God, but our higher power puts you here for a reason. You matter in this world. You will make a difference in the lives you've touched, leaving a lasting mark in their hearts forever. Well, that's awesome. See how important and truly unique you are. Well, that's true. We're just as important as anybody else. And as a survivor of abuse, sometimes we don't believe those things because we were told a bunch of lies, a pack of lies by somebody, whoever the abuser happened to be, or the abusers. And we are important, and we are truly unique, and we are one of a kind, and no one can replace us. That's important to remember. And, do we make a difference in people's lives? Well, we touch people's lives, whoever we happen to come across. So we want to leave, do we leave a lasting mark in their hearts forever? Do we leave a good, positive lasting mark, or do we leave a negative, toxic lasting mark in people's lives or hearts, right? That's a big thing to think about. Kind of a mark do we leave on people's lives, after coming in contact with them? Most of the time I end up hurting people, which is absolutely horrible. And it's just a leftover residual wounding, that I'm still dealing with as an adult. I tend to hurt people before they hurt me. It's kind of like I leave before they reject me. I hurt them before they hurt me. And that's just a defense mechanism, and it's a horrible, horrible way to be. And I'm really working on recognizing where, what the issues are, where I start to actually do that, and to learn how to not do that. And these are things that I have to work through, right? So it's pretty sad. I want to leave a lasting mark of a positive lasting mark, in the world, not a negative one. I want to leave a mark that people would remember me as a decent person, somebody who cared about people, but really cared, and didn't want to hurt people, and really tried to be a good thing in this world instead of a bad person or a bad individual in the world. So it's every day I wake up with the responsibility, we all do, what kind of mark we're going to leave on people that day. And every day is different, and every day matters. And I realized that a long time ago, which is kind of interesting. I don't know why I would realize something like that, but probably because the people in my lives that should have loved me and should have taken care of me, every day could have woke up and changed that and actually started doing what they should have done, which was to take care of me and love me instead of abuse me. And I realized that I was the same thing to other people, in my life. And that I do that to people. We all do. We all affect each other's lives every single day. Anybody you come in contact with. And so I thought, I want to I would like to be a positive influence in people's lives instead of a negative one. But do I end up doing that? Not always. And quite often for the people that really know me, and actually I deal with on a personal level, not just doing these shows and stuff, but people that are in my life personally, I tend to hurt them. And it's a terrible, terrible thing. I always have to apologize, and it's a defense mechanism. If I feel like I'm going to get hurt, I lash out first, and that's from being so severely abused. It's a horrific situation, and so I'm trying to work to change that, and it takes time. It can't happen overnight, and because I have to recognize it first in order to stop doing it. I have to recognize what's the trigger, what's and where is the dividing line between hurting somebody and not hurting somebody. I do have the right to stand up for myself, but it's the way that I do it, that tends to be hurtful. And so, we have to be careful. What kind of mark do we want to leave on people's hearts, I want to leave a positive, loving mark in people's hearts. I've only got so much time left here on the planet. Who knows how long that is? And I don't want to be a person that people look back at and say, yeah, I knew her, she was all right, but she's kind of hurtful and kind of mean and, seemed to be a good person, but when you really get to know her, she just hurts people. I don't want to be like that, I just, I don't want people lifting me up on a pedestal either, because I think that's wrong. I just wouldn't mind people just, I wouldn't mind leaving a mark that I did my best to not hurt people, and that I really did truly care about people, because that's actually the truth. I really do care. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing these shows. I wouldn't be doing any of this stuff. I do care about people, and I think it's important. We need to decide every day: are we going to be a positive influence, making a difference in the lives of people around us, or are we going to be a negative one? And that's very important. I have a responsibility. If I actually care about being a positive influence in the world, then I have a responsibility every day in the morning to wake up and be responsible for my behavior, and so does everybody else. But quite often people are not looking at that, so their toxicity just spills over to other people around them all day long. And this is why we have the problems in the world that we do. Some people are sitting behind, a set of sights with their guns. Some people are sitting behind the wheel of a car. Some people are sitting behind a bottle of alcohol. Some people are sitting behind a pile of cocaine. Some people are sitting behind a pile of pills. Some people are sitting behind, nuclear bomb stuff. You know what I mean? And these are regular people who make bad decisions because they wake up in the morning and they can't pull it together to realize, what am I doing? Do I want to be a positive influence in the world, or do I want to be a toxic influence? Do I want to ruin the lives of people around me, or do I want to try to help people and as well as help myself and help those around me? That's the kind of decision that we really face every day, but most people don't think about it because they're just too involved in just not paying attention to, to the most important things in our life. They're just too involved with the other stuff. These are really important decisions we got to make every day. And I thought, I've only got so much time here, as much as my higher power will allow me, before I'm gone. And I want to make a difference in this world as far as, a positive, caring difference instead of a toxic, uncaring difference, right? So these are important, but we are truly unique and we are truly important, and that's very important to know. So we'll move on from there. I think that's really cool. Let's see what we're looking at here. Oh yeah, we're looking at the inner child healing work. This is adults. This is also from Havoca, Help for Adult Victims of Child Abuse. Havoca.org, Havoca, Havoca.org. We finished off with that Learning to Love Ourselves article. You can grab this from their website. Just go to their Survivor tab at the top of the page when you go to Havoca.org, and then you'll see this Survivor tab, and then if you click on that, it'll bring you to another page, and on the left-hand side is all these different tabs, and there's a tab called Inner Child. And you click on that, and this is where this information is coming from. It's Havoca.org. This is called Loving the Wounded Child. So first, there was like inner child healing, how to begin, why the next portion was why heal your inner child, and then we looked at learning to love ourselves, and now we're going to look at loving the wounded child. So this is really interesting stuff. This is what they're writing here. This is their information. It says, when we were 3 or 4, we couldn't look around us and say, quote unquote, well, Dad's a drunk and Mom is real depressed and scared. That is why it feels so awful here. I think I'll go get my own apartment. So when we're 3 and 4 years old, we can't do those things. So it says our parents were our higher powers. We were not capable of understanding that they might have problems that had nothing to do with us. So it felt like it was our fault. They said here, we formed our relationship with ourselves and life in early childhood, and we learned about love from people who were not capable of loving in a healthy way because of their unhealed childhood wounds. So our core / earliest relationship with ourselves was formed from the feeling that something is wrong and it must be me. At the core of our being is a little kid who believes that he or she is unworthy and unlovable, and that was the foundation that we built our concept of self on. It's kind of interesting, what you're saying here. Not everybody would go through this because not everybody's abuse was stemming from an abusive parent. Some people have experienced child abuse from someone else. You know what I mean? They may have had loving parents, but maybe it's somebody else who abused them. I know many survivors, in all kinds of different situations, right? But I also know survivors who've been through similar things, and I've been through similar things that they have because my parents were my abusers as well as one of my siblings. So, not everybody could relate to this, but this is true what they're saying. I mean, when we're 3 and 4, we can't we're not in charge. We're just looking to be looked after. Our needs are needing to be met. And it's not, that we can just say, oh, well, I'll just move out at 3 and 4 years old. So what they're saying is very true. It doesn't, we're just trying to get our needs met, at that point. Our parents were our higher powers. We were not capable of understanding that they might have problems that had nothing to do with us. So she says, so it felt like it was our fault. So many times people will take on the guilt, and I never took on the guilt of the abuse, and that's something interesting. And I think that's probably why maybe I haven't had as many as I don't know, some of the same problems that other people have had, because I never believed any of those lies. I kind of took them on as an inner parent critical toxic voice saying, oh, you're not worthy, you'll never make it, you're this, you're that, you're never gonna, just really negative speech, right? Which I do still hear sometimes in my head rolling around, especially when I make a mistake or something goes wrong. I feel like I'm not quite capable like everybody else, and I don't have the brain cells like everybody else to get through things. That's just not true, and so I now as an adult, I know that that's just that critical inner toxic parent voice that tells me those things, and I don't have to listen to that. That's coming from the abuse that I suffered as a child, as a teenager, even in my 20s, from an highly abusive set of parents who were very toxic and dysfunctional. So, I don't believe those things. And, I have to actually work on not allowing that stuff to manifest in my life. So, for instance, we might feel like, oh, well, someone may have told us that we're useless. So then we might just go around not doing things because we were told we were useless over and over and over again, and we believed it. So then we think, oh, I can't do that, I'm just useless, right? Or I can't do that, I'm not smart enough, or I'm this or I'm that, right? Those are lies, and we need to know that those are lies, and that's wrong. And it's hard to overcome that, but we really can. And I know for myself, I don't pay much attention to that voice, critical parent voice that tells me all these negative things, because it was all a bunch of lies, all the stuff that my parents told me, and even my abuser siblings, because of the dysfunction and the abuse in the home. All of my siblings were really messed up, as well as myself. And nobody knew how to be good and kind and decent to anybody. And even in our adult lives, we can't do that. And so that's why I cut all of my family off, because nobody has any clue about how to be decent and kind in our family. And I'm like, I'm not going to be around people anymore who are going to abuse me. So bye-bye. Just had to say goodbye to them, right? Too bad. They can go abuse somebody else, right? And I'm going to heal, and I'm going to get better, and I'm going to be a positive influence in the world, and I'm going to leave this world with a peace in my heart, peace in my life, peace in my mind, And I couldn't do that if keeping them around, right? So that's the problem. Sadly enough, I had to boot the toxic people out of my life, right? So that I can heal and become non-toxic myself. Right? Because I'm not going to sit there and pretend that I didn't pick up this toxic, abusive behavior from years of being tortured and beaten and sexually abused and just verbally assaulted every day, pretty well every day verbal assaults. Physical assaults, not every day, but weekly. And, horrific stuff. Horrific. That I didn't pick that up and take that on as an adult, and as an adult have the tendency to lash out at people and hurt people, that affected me in a severely bad way. But my siblings don't see that they have a problem. They think it's okay to do those things, whereas I know it's not. And it's not okay to hurt people, and we need to apologize when we do, And so most of us, growing up, we could say, well, we might have taken the guilt on. Oh, it must have been me. I must have been a bad child, or it must have been me. And even at that stage, and as a young person, I know, growing up abused. I was aware that that my life was painful, and that our home was painful, and there was quite often a lot of really bizarre things going on, and people were getting hurt, and it wasn't just me. But I was looking around at this situation at 3 and 4 years old. I knew it wasn't my fault. But the thing is I wanted them to hold me and to console me and to tell me, that it would be all right, and to stop the craziness, right? And it never did stop, But I never took the guilt on, but I did continue to try to gain their love and their care, which was never ever going to happen. But this is so horrible. It says at the core of our being is a little kid who believes that he or she is unworthy and unlovable, and that's how I actually used to feel as a teen, especially. And just coming from this abuse, right? I was still being physically abused at the age of 17, and and emotionally, psychologically abused as well. But you know, just feeling unworthy, unlovable. It said so. They said that was the foundation that we built our concept of ourself on, right? And so this is the issue. It's taken me all this time from 41 and a half to this age to make any progress at all from being battered. I want to call it just battered in every way, emotionally, psychologically, physically, you know, spiritually, in every way abused. And I mean, so many of us, we would understand this. You know what I mean? It's really difficult to get a hold of what happened. How we need to help ourselves. How we need to change so that we are not toxic and abusive around other people. Especially if we grew up in that our whole lives, right? Which I did. So it was my life. That's what I picked up all that stuff. See, this is horrific, right? So, we can change those things, right? And so we'll move on from there. We'll pick up the rest of that. We'll look at some more of that tomorrow. Okay, positive reinforcement. What am I doing right in my daily walk? Looking at the positives. What are we doing right? Instead of just always looking at the negative and being hard on ourselves. What am I doing right? Well, I got on my rower, which was good. So I'm working on the physical stuff, which is good, and that's important. So that's my positive. Yesterday I rode for about almost 10 minutes, which is good because I'm out of shape. And so I got to start slow. And my body's really screwed up. So from the abuse and from everything else. So it's just, I really have to be careful what I'm doing. So I have to be careful on what kind of exercise I do as well, because I've got all kinds of broken bones and hips out of place. And I have to go, I spent 5 years at the chiropractor as well as kinesiology for my head that's been caved in several times. So I have to be really careful what I'm doing. And so I'm starting slow. So, but I love to row, and it's really good exercise. So I'm glad I'm getting on it. Here's a positive affirmation we could say for ourselves today. This is from Positive Affirmations from a site that's called www.heartswithsoul.com /child_abuse.htm www.heartswithsoul.com. That's cool. And the next one up this morning is I let serenity flow into my life. That's awesome. I let serenity flow into my life. What is serenity? Serene, peacefulness, quietness. That's serene, that place that tells us that we're comfortable, we're safe, we're secure, we're at peace. It does, we can breathe and just relax and, almost like looking at a serene picture of a lake, somewhere with like still water, and just a soft air around us, that serene kind of peacefulness, right? I let serene flow into my life. That's awesome. So I could say that all day. In the midst of any kind of chaotic stuff going on, I can say, I let serenity flow into my... And some days it's easier than others, but that's something that we could say and we could work on. Positive affirmation. Self-care, what are we doing both, what are we doing physically, spiritually, emotionally to care for ourselves? What can we work on? I'm working on the physical stuff mainly, but also some emotional stuff. Spiritually, I'm in a really... I'm spiritually well. Let me just tell you. Emotionally, I would say I want to say 98% emotionally well. I have sometimes a few days like everybody else, where things just aren't working out, and emotionally, takes its toll. I think most people have those issues. It's okay to have, a day like that, right? The issue is not to stay like that. And to see what was driving that and what we can do to help ourselves. See, it's just that it's when it takes over your life and you have no control of your emotions, that's a real problem, and that's where I was at. So I'd say, I'm 98% healed on that, really, which is great. Physically, I need some help. I need to start working out, so I can keep going here until I am not here anymore. I need to actually get some exercise so I can keep moving while I'm still here. I got work to do. I got things that I need to do, and I can't do it if I'm going to be really out of shape. So that's why I'm starting to get back in shape, because I used to be in pretty good shape for somebody in my condition. So somebody who just never taken care of themselves and smokes, pack a day for, I don't know, 30 years, and never really takes care of themselves, and used a lot of drugs and have a lot of problems because of the abuse that I suffered, the physical and sexual abuse as a child. So I actually do pretty good for somebody in that position. A lot of broken bones and lots of problems with my body, but I still do pretty good in that area, and I just need to get working on a little bit of a physical exercise routine back in my life. That's why I bought the rower, because I thought, well, I do have time. I could row 10 minutes here and 10 minutes there, 20 minutes on the weekends, and get some exercise, because I know I don't have a whole lot of time to be racing around doing a lot of exercise. And so I thought, well, I gotta do something. So I'm glad that I started that. They said here, this is Havoka. This is our Havoka Survivors Bill of Rights. And these are really important for people to know. If you're a survivor of abuse, you do have rights. I have rights, and we all have rights. We have just as many rights as anybody else. And so a lot of people say, oh, well, why does everybody have to go around pushing their rights? And it's like, well, because people's rights are getting squashed. That's why. And as children, growing up abused, we didn't have any rights. Children do have rights, by the way. They have more than adults do, actually. They have a couple more because they're children. So, but as an abused child, I had no rights. I had no right to my body. I had no right to say anything, to think anything. I mean, I could think what I wanted, but if it came out of my mouth, I was going to suffer a beating for sure. As a child, I was not allowed to speak. I was not allowed to say anything. And if I did open my mouth, I usually got slapped or thrown into a wall or just beaten to the floor, just abused horrifically, right? So as an adult, I have the right. I have the right to speak. I have rights. Havoka Survivors Bill of Rights says, as a matter of specific to the domain of psychotherapy, you have the right to have a strong interest by your therapist in your safety, with a readiness to use all legal means to neutralize an imminent threat to your life or someone else's. That's awesome. We do have a right to that. We have a right to have a strong interest by your therapist in your safety, with a readiness to use all legal means to neutralize an imminent threat to your life or someone else's. That's right. It's important, because as a survivor of abuse, so many times, abuse survivors are still in situations where their safety is jeopardized. If the abuser's still living, or someone else, that's come into their life that wants to harm them or cause them harm, that the therapist, is ready to use all legal means to help this person out, to help us out. It's very, very important to know that. So I think that's good. Personal Bill of Rights. This is really cool. This is Charles H. Whitfield, MD. Charles H. Whitfield, MD, Healing the Child Within. We're looking at 29. I have the right to be open to improve communication skills so that I may be understood. So I have the right to be open to improve communication skills so that I may be understood. That's awesome. Those are cool. There's like 38 of these. You can find them out and around it, just about everywhere, really. We'll have to pick up identifying boundaries and stuff tomorrow. And I have about a minute left here. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful day. I wish you a happy Monday. And Mondays can be kind of brutal for most people. So I really wish you a super good day. Don't be hard on yourself, and take it easy. Be good to yourself, and do something kind for yourself today. Just do something nice for yourself. Take a moment and just relax and reflect and be good to yourself. Right? If you're struggling and you need help, you reach out and get some help. And if you can't cope, you call a crisis line. But do whatever you have to do. But you make sure that you get help. Right? And have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.